In pre-Norman Ireland, Iveragh and much of Dingle were part of the same kingdom, Corcu Dubine. Although this name now applies just to Dingle, in the past it covered both peninsulas. It was a place name and the name of a people, the Corcu Dubine. This means the seed or people of Duibne, and is presumably a claim of descent from the goddess Duibne. Interestingly, there are many old inscriptions in the area, on at least two of which, one in Dingle and the other in Iveragh, this goddess is mentioned. Corcu Dubine was divided into three parts called sept, equivalent to the modern barony. In the north, Áes Irruis Deiscirt, or Dingle, was ruled by the O'Connell, or the O'Connells. The area around Castlemaine and Cahergal was called Áes Irruis, and under the O'Shea, or the O'Sheas, while Iveragh was called Áes Irruis Deiscirt and ruled by the Ua Fáilbe, or the Ua Fáilbes. Áes Irruis Deiscirt and Áes Irruis Deiscirt mean the people of the northern peninsula and the southern peninsula respectively, while Áes Irruis mean the people of Conking. In turn, Corcu Dubine owed allegiance to the kings of Westminster, the Onacht Lochalain. As was common among Gaelic septs, despite their kinship, the ruling groups of Corcu Dubine fought among themselves, notably the O'Fáilbes and the O'Sheas. Various conflicts between them are recorded in the annals, including one battle in 1118 when the O'Sheas were defeated by a coalition of the O'Fáilbes and Limerick Vikings. On other occasions, the Corcu Dubine were dragged into wider disputes in Ireland. Perhaps the most important battle took place within Corcu Dubine itself, when around 867 a coalition of Munster kings defeated a Viking force and destroyed their settlement near Castlemaine. In the 11th and 12th centuries, Corcu Dubine was destabilised by conflict between the MacCotters and O'Briens, and subsumed in the kingdom of Desmond or Desmond, covering South Kerry and West Cork. Afterwards, the Norman invasion pushed the MacCotters and O'Sullivans into Desmond, which came to be ruled by the MacCarty Moor sept. Áes Irruis Deiscirt and Áes Irruis, as well as much of North Kerry, were taken by the Normans, ultimately becoming Geraldine lands. The O'Connells were pushed into Iveragh. In Áes Irruis, the Normans built a castle in Cahergal, though this would be fought over for a very long time. Initially, they also tried to settle in Iveragh and possibly build a castle in Ballycarbery, but they were driven out as the MacCartys established themselves there. During the heyday of Corcu Dubine, one of the main seats of Ua Fáilbe power was the fort of Cahergal. It is one of three stone forts or cashels in the over-the-water part of Cahirsiveen in Kerry. Excavated and restored in the 1980s, and partially excavated again in the 1990s, it is probably one of the most magnificent cashels in Kerry. Cahergal is a large cashel. Built on a rocky outcrop, it has an internal diameter of 26 metres and an external one of 36. Its strong walls are around 5 metres thick at the bottom and 3.5 metres at the top. They are around 2 metres high in the west and 4 in the east. The interior of the walls have 2 terraces and numerous steps giving access to them. Archaeologists also believe there were originally 3 terraces, meaning the cashel was very imposing indeed. It is entered by a southeast-facing lintel passage, 5.5 metres long, 2 metres wide and 2 metres high. 2 slabs project from the sides of the passage, while another lying on its side acts as a step. At the centre of the cashel is a stone hut that has a 6.5 metre internal diameter and 1 metre thick walls, which are around 1.5 metres high. It has 2 entrances, though originally there was a third. Some archaeologists think that it may have had a corbelled stone roof, and a stone path runs from the cashel entrance to the house. Also, during the excavations, some slabs were found with holes in them. Cahergal has a strategic location, close to Valentia Harbour and through Cushcroom to Dingle Bay, giving it good communication links with the other parts of Corcu Dubine. Based on the excavations, Conleth Manning has produced a very interesting paper on the fort. He argues that unlike other cashels, Cahergal was not a homestead, due to the lack of signs of domestic use found in other cashels, in other words, the lack of rubbish, and the absence of features such as wall chambers, and its large size. It is possible that the house in the centre of the castle, at least between the 7th and 9th centuries, had a stone roof, making it one of the largest stone roof buildings from that time. This house had 3 doorways, also unusual and possibly symbolic. Manning thinks that, at least in its early centuries, it was a ceremonial building, used to impress or as a status symbol. Rather than being permanently lived in, it was only used on special occasions. This could have been the symbolic centre of Áes Irruis Deiscirt, the seat of the Ua Fáilbes, and used by them to demonstrate power and to impress people. However, in the late 9th century, Cahergal was abandoned for a period, and there seems to have been a fire in the central building. It was later reoccupied, but had a lower status. The house was partially rebuilt, and some iron smelting took place there in the 13th or 14th centuries, indicating that it may have been used by a blacksmith for some time. It was occupied intermittently during the late medieval and early modern periods before being abandoned. It may be coincidence, but the fire in the building, which appears to have marked the end of the initial high-status use of the castle, seems to have occurred at a similar time to the establishment of a Viking or Hiberno-Norse settlement at the nearby Begnish Island. Also around this time, the Norse settlement in Duibne, which is near what is now Castlemaine, was destroyed. It was a period of conflict in Ireland between Norse and the Gaelic Irish, but also among the Gaelic Irish and among the Norse, as the Viking settlers became part of the dynamics of Gaelic Ireland. The fire in the house seems to have been a controlled one, as there is little evidence of goods being caught in it. Perhaps the Ua Fáilbes believed Cahergal was too close to the Norse settlement, so they burned the house and moved elsewhere. We'll never know, but for 2 centuries or so, this castle appears to have been the seat of power in Áes Irruis Deiscirt, and thus one of the most important places in the kingdom of Corcu Dubine. Moreover, the importance of the area was not forgotten, which is probably why the MacCotter Moors built one of their most important castles at Ballycarbery nearby. So, from the 7th to the 17th century, this quiet part of Kerry was a location of some of the most important seats of power in Iveragh.